What's going on? Well, it finally quit raining, and I have not had a chance to ride this motorcycle in a hot minute. Hopefully get to spend a little bit more time with this machine than I normally get to spend with it. Been working on that GSXR 750 so much, you'd almost think that I'd forgotten about this bike, right? Well, I have not, and I hope you haven't either. Looks like we got a little ride along, buddy. Well, come on, Bug Buddy, let's go for a ride. What do you say? So in this video, what I want to chat about is, what is this bike like to have over the 750? That's the big difference right there, guys. God, this thing, okay, so for anybody that says that the GSXR 750 has the mix between a 600 and 1000, only in terms of handling. Because there is nothing that is the same between these bikes in terms of outright power. I mean, nothing. They both handle well, don't get me wrong. Got to be a little bit careful. We had a bunch of rain, so I can't go just diving blindly into some of these corners, but we can still have a little bit of fun. So yeah, there is really not a lot in common between the GSXR 750 and really any leader class bike, if we're being fair, if we're being honest here. But you wouldn't expect it. It's just that nowadays, I guess I should say, the difference is so great that it almost does literally make it like you could have both bikes in the garage. And I know I've said this a ton of times, but you could have both bikes in the garage and have completely different riding experiences. And the riding experience that you'll be giving yourself with any of the leader bikes over any of the middleweights is, well, quite frankly, it's the reason why we came here to begin with. It's all the power that you have on tap. Usable power too. It's not like you have to rev a leader class bike to the moon to start collecting respectable amounts of power. It just goes from being respectable to downright ludicrous once you get a little bit more on the right hand side of the tap. But obviously, there we go, now we're in 6th gear. 6th gear, 6,000 RPM, just a roll onto the throttle. And it just keeps collecting mile an hour in a way that even the largest displacement middleweights under partial throttle or lower RPM roll-ons, they just cannot compete with this. And I'm looking at you, R9, or any of the other 900cc variants that you may run across. Don't be fooled, guys. Yes, the displacement is higher, but they do not have the compression ratio, the camshaft, the ability to breathe that the leader class bikes have to be able to compete in that segment. So I know that what you may hear about bikes like the R9, I'm going to remove the GSXR 750 from this for just a minute because it's also a 4-cylinder like this. Let's talk about the triples and the twins in that class. V2 Panigale and the aforementioned R9. they are 900cc bikes. Let's go ahead and call it, which you might think might give 90% of the performance envelope that a leader class bike would get. Now, and where you might find some level of comparison is in partial throttle torque, or at least in mid-range torque, and in this world means 7,000 or 8,000 RPM. All of those similarities go away very quickly. Let's get this bike on the side of the tire machine. Alright, etc. Downshift. Drop her in. Maintenance throttle. Power. Downshift. I could have hit that so much harder. Anyway, yeah, there's no comparison at all. That mid-corner, mid-range hit that you hit with a leader bike is just so much stronger. And you got to remember too, guys, these leader class bikes, they rev out like 600s did back in the day. And that's the result. Just crazy amounts of power all the time. So yeah, don't ever get it twisted when you hear that maybe these larger middleweight sport bikes will give all the torque of a leader class bike with the streetability of a classic middleweight. You'll hear that kind of fruitful chat quite a bit when it comes to bikes like that. And it's kind of true. I have to revert back to the Daytona. You may have seen me, if you're familiar with the channel, riding that bike around. Up to about, say, 8,000 RPM, between 5 and 9,000 RPM, the 955cc triple does kind of feel like a bigger bike of its time, maybe. Hold on, let's get this bike on the side of the tire again. Sorry, nothing compares to a leader bike for power on demand. Anyway, getting back to it. My Daytona can act as a pretty reliable stand-in for any of those super middleweights. It's about the same displacement. Red lines at 10,500 RPM like those other bikes. Anyway, there is a Goldilocks zone with those bikes, and it is, I'll even give it from idle up to maybe 7,000 or 8,000 RPM, where it feels good. I mean, they're good, they're punchy, they're torquey, all of that, but there is no overrev, and the party's over with those bikes, if we're being honest, guys, around 10,000 RPM, right? So, well, if we're right at honest, probably a little bit earlier than that. So the leader bike is just so much more powerful. But also comes at a considerably higher cost. In many cases, about half again more expensive. But you kind of get what you're paying for, so what do you expect? But between the two bikes, they're so different. And this is, I guess, the point that I'm trying to finally evolve into. a middleweight 4-cylinder like a GSXR 750 or a GSXR 600, any of the more traditional 600s, a 636, is going to be exceptionally light. It's going to be exceptionally agile. Smaller rear tire helps a lot with that. A little bit lower weight helps a ton. Those are the things that you want for your middleweight. And for the guys that want something that is a bit more street friendly, that want, you know, maybe a more sporty riding position, maybe they come from a sport bike background and that's what they're more comfortable with, maybe that's where the larger displacement middleweights can come in and offer up, you know, a sporty riding experience, if not exactly sporting. And I'm talking about the street bikes too, guys. I'm not talking about race bikes or anything like that. That's a whole different animal. But as it pertains to the bikes as they come from the factory, look, it's a tough call as far as which one I like better, because I like them both a whole lot. But I tell you what, when you're looking for absolute outright performance, there is no beating a GSXR 1000 or any of the leader class bikes. The middleweights, doesn't matter what the displacement or what the configuration, just cannot touch these things. And in that respect, guys, go with the extremes. The compromise, a lot of times, is just too much of just that. Not enough of something to get not enough of another. And with that, I'm going to check out, get back on the road. Y'all have a great one.